Within the span of 6 months, I went from performing in front of 300 people at my high school to performing in front of 60,000 people with the American rock band Green Day. In what I can only describe as a preparation meets opportunity moment, I rocked my heart out on September 24th, 2022 at Firefly Music Festival. I grew up watching the life of a musician. My father, Thomas, is a phenomenal singer, choir director, and former music teacher of nearly 20 years. From a very young age, my dad taught me the joys of music through singing and playing piano. I then joined almost every school choir I could, which was followed by various musicals that spanned from 5th grade in this picture to as of last year. My dad and I still play music together to this day. From my 5th grade musical, 4 years later, I was a freshman in high school, and performing was my whole life. I was used to it by now. I was comfortable with being on stage in front of a crowd, and nothing could take this away from me. Until COVID. We all remember the shutdown. We remember the boredom, the indescribable pain of wanting to leave your house but being told you can't. Well, I saw this and I took this as an opportunity. The first day the world shut down was the first day I picked up a guitar. An old, out-of-tune acoustic guitar that I found in the back of my closet. I had no intentions of playing this guitar for very long. It was supposed to be for the 2 weeks we had off from school. Those 2 weeks turned to 4 weeks. 4 weeks turned into 2 months, and before I knew it, I was playing guitar on my brand new, first of many, electric guitar. I loved the electric guitar, rocking out in my room for roughly 5 hours a day because I had no school. What else was I going to do? I learned songs through a vast series of genres: rock and roll, jazz, blues, rhythm. You name it, I did it. But something didn't sit right with me. I still wanted something more personal, something of my own. So I began writing my own songs. Through studying modern song structure and analyzing the lyrics of my favorite tunes, I taught myself the art of songwriting. My new hobby was then brought to greater heights when I learned about music production. See, via social media, I saw people promoting their new song coming soon. People my age, and I thought to myself, how? How can you be my age and already working with a producer and a manager and a team of people who's promoting this new song for yourself, but no. They made those songs in their bedrooms. Well, I have a bedroom. So that's what I did. Over the next year, I simultaneously learned how to play guitar, songwrite, and produce music. I loved it. While music was a part of nearly every aspect of my life, it wasn't until I was 16 years old that I experienced my first concert. Lucky for me, it was a music festival down in Dover, Delaware, called Firefly. My best friend and her family had brought me down for the weekend to enjoy some of the best musicians on the planet perform right in front of me. This was new to me. I was used to the cushion and comfort of a choir concert or the applause after a musical number, not a rock concert. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I got there and I loved it. The aura, the feeling, it was loud, it was exciting, it was what I wanted. I learned from Firefly in 2021 that that's how I wanted to perform. But how would I get there? Leaving Firefly, I then looked at my own music that I was making and thought to myself, how can I take what I'm doing in here and make it better? Make it more so I can perform on these stages the way that I now wanted to. My room that once represented a middle school boy who just loved a lot of shoes slowly turned into my own recording studio. YouTube eventually became one of my best friends after watching hours on hours of how to produce a song like this or how to mix this type of genre. Eventually, I wrote, recorded, mixed, mastered, engineered all of my own songs, various songs throughout multiple months, throughout my junior year and that entire summer. At least 50 songs. Now, going into my senior year, I had this vision for myself, this personal recording artist from my bedroom, and I was on the right path and nothing would stray away from that. Lucky for me, Firefly 2022 was coming up. I got to relive that exact moment, that exact area and aura that has set my current life path in motion. And I couldn't wait. I was more than excited to go back to that exact area and relive those feelings. But this time I knew, with a music festival, not only comes great music, but comes opportunities. I thought to myself, maybe if I'm lucky, I could, sneak my way in behind stage and talk to a manager, maybe meet a band, talk to them about my own music, promote myself in that way. But I wasn't prepared for what would happen. So we get to the festival. The same family who had brought me the year prior brought me again, and it was everything I had wanted. The aura, the feeling, the vibe, it was loud. I loved it. It was great. But it wasn't until a few festival goers had told me that a band that was playing later in the week, Green Day, has a tendency to bring people up on stage to perform with them. Now I think to myself, oh, I could do that. Yeah, that could be the moment that I'm looking for at this festival. And then I think again, I've never performed in front of anybody before. I've done musicals and I've sang in a choir, but I've never played guitar in front of everybody. Could I even do this? I wasn't sure. But eventually the night was upon us, and I had to make a real fast split decision of, am I really gonna, sell this thing and get up on that stage or not? The people around me, though, was the driving factor. Those who were supporting me really pushed me to do it, pushed me to say yes. So much so that my best friend's family who had brought me, the dad, left for about an hour to find a piece of cardboard that we could make a makeshift sign out of to get the attention of the lead singer of Green Day, Billie Joe Armstrong. In the meantime, my friends and I had doodled on parchment paper or napkins, and quite literally, this is a picture that I took asking if, would they bring me on stage? Maybe, we'll see, who knows. And by the time he came back, we had designed these two signs that one says, "Zach knows nothing but guitar," with an arrow pointing to me. That's a play on words of their song Knowledge off a prior album. And the back of the sign would say, "Shout for Zach." And the thought was anybody behind us would look at that and they would shout for Zach. So eventually Green Day comes on. The crowd goes wild. It's a great show. I'm loving every second of it. But my goal was to be as energetic as possible. I needed Billie Joe Armstrong to look at me because there were 15 other people in that audience that also had signs. How would I be different? Eventually, the time came. Lights cut, music's cut, stage goes black. Everyone's kind of confused. Until eventually I see an extra guitar get brought out onto the stage. I think to myself, all right, this is it. This is my moment. I'm either going to get up on that stage 5 feet in front of me, or it won't happen. Eventually, through the help of the people around us, and thanks to that sign, "Zach, Zach, Zach" was chanted throughout the crowd by enough people to get the attention of Billie Joe Armstrong himself. He turns and asks, "You want Zach? Who's Zach? Where's Zach?" He eventually notices me and we lock eyes. He asks me, "Can you really play guitar?" And for a second, I hesitate. For a second, I think to myself, I think I can. But I've never played in front of anybody before, let alone 60,000 people. Before I knew it, I was climbing the barricade that I had just been pressed up against for hours. Hands, faces, screams, even the ladder that I climbed upon to get onto the stage, it all became a blur. Until the second my feet hit that catwalk and I looked out over 60,000 people. I told myself to take it all in, and I did. But before I knew it, I was turned around and handed a guitar. And right there, in that moment, Billie Joe Armstrong is standing right next to me and teaching the chord shapes to this song. Now, these chords were not new to me, but the performing was. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Eventually, he steps aside. I kind of feel it a little bit, and then I get comfortable. I start running around the stage. I start kicking, jumping, one side of the stage to the other side of the stage. I was performing in the way I had wanted to for the last entire year. This was exactly the moment that I was hoping to have going to this festival. I was so locked into that moment that I didn't even realize the song needed to end until I kind of got tapped on by the shoulder by one of the band members. I eventually run over to one of the side speakers, do a 360 spin, and slam the last chord as my feet hit the ground. As I'm getting escorted out by security, Billy Joe Armstrong turns to me and says, "You can keep the guitar, Zach. This is that guitar." As I'm leaving, I hear those same chants, "Zach, Zach, Zach," this time by the entire crowd. I get escorted out by security, and afterwards I met up with the same family who had brought me there, and they seemed just as surprised as I was. None of us could believe it. It just was such a foreign idea to me that even happened. Even afterwards, I was on so much adrenaline that, couldn't believe it. I then walked through the festival grounds like I did the last 2 days, but this time it was different. This time people knew who I was. I would walk past someone and someone would go, "Oh, that's Zach. Oh, hey, aren't you Zach? Hey, you're Zach." I took pictures, I talked to people, I met so many people, and that's the reason I'm here today. The people that I met after that moment has brought me here. That moment would then be made even more special by the time I arrived home, because I had learned that Philadelphia's 6 ABC News had picked up my story and done a coverage on it. They'd put it on their evening news multiple times, and my friends had seen it, my friends' parents had seen it, my friends' parents' parents had seen it. My phone was blowing up from everybody I knew. It was crazy. How could this get any better? Well, by the time I had gotten home and the commotion was all in the moment, I get a call from my mom. She tells me that someone at Fox 29 News had caught my story, and they wanted to do an interview with me. 3 days after playing with Green Day, I do an interview with Fox. I was on 6 ABC. That one moment has brought this much in just a 3-day time period. I couldn't believe it. This was exactly what I wanted. It's been a year since then, since I did my Fox interview, and I've since graduated high school. I have released 2 of my own songs, produced, mixed, written, recorded, mastered, all by me. They're on all streaming platforms. I applied to Temple University, University of the Arts, Berklee College of Music, and Drexel University. I got into all 4. I'm currently a student at Drexel University studying music business. I spend a lot of my time in their open studios to the students. I record still my own songs, hoping to release them soon. But I like to think back to that moment. And I say to myself, would I be here if I didn't run around and kick and jump and scream and get the crowd going? Would I still be here if I just stood there and played the chords kind of like this? I don't think so. To me, the most important thing is understanding that in a moment you can be good. In a moment you can get up on that stage and you can play those chords and it can be great. And that's cool. Or you can run around. You can make that stage your own. You can make that moment your own. And you can let the rest unfold. Seize your moment and make it your own. Thank you.